Kwaba, welcome to this week's edition of Ghana in Focus. Myself, Kwame, Ghanaian broadcaster, writer, journalist, podcaster, and entrepreneur. And in this week's edition of Ghana in Focus, what is real independence? Indeed, what is real independence? So before we get into the show, if you like what you hear, please share it to your friends, family, social media networks. Subscribe to Ghana African Focus on YouTube. The target for this year is at least 100 subscribers. And also subscribe to Ghana African Focus on Spotify. Again, target for this year is for 1,000 followers on Spotify. We've got 575 followers so far, so that's great. So please tell your friends, family, and social media networks about Ghana African Focus. Subscribe, look out for that on Spotify. Hit the follow button, meaning that every time I upload a new podcast, Spotify will inform you. Again, if you want to contribute to the show, you can donate as little as $3 a month to help us with our costs and to continue bringing you great content from Ghana and from Africa. All right, so let's get into a podcast. What is real independence? So on Thursday, the 6th of March, Ghana will be celebrating its 68th anniversary of being a so-called independent country, taking independence from Britain on March 6, 1957, 58 years ago. So like I said in other podcasts before, Ghana is not independent. For my Ghanaians, listeners living in Ghana and those abroad, Ghana is not an independent country. Ghana is a dependent country, yeah? And so the whole point of this podcast is to tell Ghanaians and fans of Ghana what real independence should look like, yeah? Not this fake Mickey Mouse independence that many Ghanaians think that we actually a sovereign country, but we're not. And many Ghanaians think that because we've got a flag, and a national anthem that we're independent. No, we are far, far from being independent. Like I said, we are dependent on others. So what does real independence look like? So for example, if Ghana was really independent, Ghana would not seek $3 billion with conditions from the IMF and World Bank to get social financial support. Yeah, and Ghana will not even seek any aid because Ghana will be able to run its own affairs in accordance with its own national interests. Yeah, so the fact that Ghana, because of the recklessness and mismanagement of the last NPP government, the fact that Ghana has to go cap in hand to the IMF, yeah, is proof that Ghana is not dependent. Yeah, Ghana is not independent, it is dependent. Real independence means being able to manage your economy with the resources that you've got, and I'll come to the resources in a minute, yeah, to create a situation where you are contributing to every endeavor in the country. So it being housing, education, and I'll come to education in a minute, agriculture, which I'll come to in a minute, housing, etc. You be in charge of that. That is what we mean by real independence. So our economy, is a key example of why we're not independent, because like I mentioned in another podcast, Ghana does not control the key aspects of its economy. So for example, banking, telecommunications, mining, oil, and retail. These aspects of the economy, these key aspects of the economy are not controlled by Ghana. Real independence means that you have control over your economy, particularly the key aspects of the economy. Secondly, how many of listeners know, how did you know that Ghana's budget, before it's read in Parliament, so this after some budget That would be a week on Tuesday. And on that, on the 10th of March, I'm doing a budget special to my take as to what should be in the budget on the 11th. But did you know that Ghana's budget has to be approved by the IMF and World Bank before the finance minister sits down in Parliament to read out to the public? Did you know that? So real independence means that we make our budget, we tailor our budget to the needs, wants of the country, Ghana, and we create a budget that is in the national interest of Ghana. Yeah? Right now, like I said, our budget does not really meet the needs and wants of Ghana or interests of Ghana because it must be sanctioned by the IMF before it goes to Parliament. So that tells you right that we don't have real independence. Again, in terms of the economy, if Ghana was really independent, Ghana would decide for itself what economy it has. So right now, because of the colonial hangover and the fact that none of our leaders since Nkrumah has sought to take Ghana on a different trajectory, our economy is basically a colonial economy. What do I mean by that? I mean that we are hewers of wood and drawers of water, i.e., we are primarily an economy that is a colonial economy in terms of that we have all these raw materials, but A, we don't control them, and B, we don't add value to the resources. So we have the resources, but other countries, buy the raw mineral or the raw resource, take it to their countries, add value to it, and then sell it back to us. Yeah? A prime example is cocoa. So cocoa is one of Ghana's biggest exports. However, it's not the finished product that we sell to the international market. It is the raw cocoa that goes outside of Ghana that is then turned into chocolate, chocolate bars, hot chocolate, beverages, what have you, right? So back to us. So real independence means having an economy that is not a colonial economy, but an economy that meets the needs and wants of Ghana. Again, real independence means owning and control of your own resources. So now in somewhere like Burkina Faso, where Captain Ibrahim Traoré has kicked out the French and has torn apart that wicked French agreement that allowed France to take up 95% of Burkina Faso's wealth and resources, yeah? Burkina Faso now owns all its resources and manages its own resources. That's what we call real independence. Ghana does not do that. Ghana does not own the cocoa because Ghana does not determine the price on the world market for cocoa. That is determined by the West. Ghana does not control the oil, doesn't own the oil. Yeah, because if we did, we wouldn't get 10% or 15% of oil receipts. Yeah? So real independence means having charge, having the ownership, and managing the resources, and even setting the price of the resources that benefits you and your national interests. Again, if Ghana was really independent, right, we wouldn't get aid. So all this hoopla, as I mentioned, about Donald Trump cutting USAID to Ghana and other African countries, and people are crying, oh, because these USAID funds a lot of key sectors, i.e., agriculture, education, healthcare. Yeah, people are now saying, what we're going to do without this USAID. So that shows you that dependency is rife in Ghana. Because like I said, we don't need $150 million from USAID. Yeah. So real independence, yeah, is, to borrow an Akufo-Addo mantra, Ghana beyond aid, whereby Ghana will not be received from aid from anyone, US, UK, European Union, Germany, what have you. Ghana would control its own resources, would own its resources, and manage its resources, and then use the proceeds of its resources to develop its agriculture industry, to develop its schools, hospitals, roads, etc. Yeah. So the fact that Ghana relies on aid, yeah, and on that, did you know that half of the so-called USIDA goes on healthcare? So real independence means that you will not rely on aid to fund your healthcare program, your education program, your agriculture program, your Guild in School program, your women empowerment program, your HIV/AIDS programs. No. Real independence means that you would use your own resources to fund those important aspects of nation building. Yeah. So the fact that Ghana relies dependently on a lot of so-called aid from Western so-called partners, this reflects Ghana's position. So real independence, yeah, means that you are not tied to aid, you are not tied to conditions of aid, and that aid is not, is something that you can do without. That is what we call real independence. Again, real independence is the ability to feed oneself. Like I said before, Ghana, many times, Ghana is not able to feed itself. Why? Because Ghana neglected its agriculture policy after Nkrumah was removed. Yeah. And listen to the IMF and World Bank, who told us that not to invest in agriculture, yeah, but to import food. And so, because Ghana has imported food for the last 30 to 40 years, Ghana cannot feed itself. Ghana depends on exports. So for example, rice. Ghana imports at least $1 billion of rice every year into Ghana. From India, from China, from US, from Vietnam. So rather giving our farmers jobs, we are giving US farmers, Indian farmers, Chinese farmers, Vietnamese farmers jobs because we are importing their rice. So real independence is what Ibn Traore is doing right now next door in Burkina Faso, investing wholesale agriculture, buying up-to-date machinery, buying organic seedlings or creating your own seedlings, not the GMO that other people want us to import. Yeah, but organic seedlings whereby we grow food naturally. Food independence is of key importance because a country that cannot feed itself is a country that is doomed for death. Because a lot of the food that is imported into Ghana, for example, the chicken, apparently, I read the other day that Ghana imports more than $300 a year worth of chicken, poultry. Yeah, and that chicken that's coming to Ghana, is that really healthy? Is that really healthy? We know there's a lot of GM in Europe and America, and we know that a lot of the chickens are fed steroids to make them big, to make them fat. We know that they put chemicals in it that destroy the human body. This is the chicken that we eat in Ghana because we're not real independent. So if we're real independent is that you are able to feed yourself. Yeah. So you're able to put in place structures, able to build silos, warehouses. You're able to buy machinery. You're able to develop organic seedlings, not Monsanto GMO, not genetically modified seeds that kill the body, not genetically modified organisms that are crossbred with other dangerous plants that can cause cancer, that can cause, other diseases. We would develop our own agricultural seeding base, whereby using the technology of Kwame Nkrumah Science and University and Technology, yeah, we would have the students there that can create organic seedlings so that our farmers can use their seeds. That is what real independence looks like. The ability to feed oneself and not being dependent on others to feed yourself. Yeah. Another aspect of real independence is healthcare. Like I said, USAID and other so-called donors have a heavy imprint in Ghana's health sector. Yeah. And so this does not bode well for the health of our people because infant mortality is still a huge issue in Ghana. So if we were really independent, we would take control of our healthcare, i.e., we will not be depending on USAID, European Union, JICA, Japan International Cooperation Agency, German Technical Agency, UKAID, and others to support our healthcare. We would have the wherewithal to understand that healthcare is very, very important because a healthy people is a healthy people. A sick people is a poor nation. And so if Ghana was really independent or real independence means the ability to take control of your healthcare, very, very key sector of people endeavor, healthcare. Another issue that is mark of real independence is that you will make decisions that are in the national interest of the country, i.e. Ghana, and not in the interest of others. So for example, a classic example is the so-called anti-LGBTQ bill, otherwise known as the Promoting Healthy Ghanaian Family Sexual Values. Yeah? If Ghana was really independent, we would have passed the bill a long time ago. Passed the bill a long time. But because we are dependent on others for our survival, Akufo-Addo did not sign the bill because he was scared of the repercussions of what would happen if he did. And as yet, we'll give Mahama time because he's only been in power for 2 months. But Mahama is yet to sign into law the anti-LGBTQ plus bill. Yeah? So we're watching Mahama regarding that. But real independence is being able to make decisions like signing the anti-LGBTQ plus bill that are in the interest of Ghana, a sovereign country, rather than the interest of the USA or the European Union or the UK, who are threatening that if Ghana signs the anti-LGBTQ plus into law, Ghana could face severe sanctions. Yeah? And so real independence is doing what is in your country's best interest. Same way America does what's in its interest, same way the European Union does what's in its interest, same way that China does what's in its interest. Again, real independence means that you will not allow other people, i.e. the Chinese, to come into a country and destroy your environment because of illegal small-scale mining. That is not independence. That is dependence. Yeah? And that is not a country that thinks of its national interest. Yeah? So this wanton, brazen destruction of our water bodies, of our land, of our forestry, because of illegal small-scale mining, is proof that we don't have real independence in Ghana. Because if you have real independence in Ghana, A, this thing would have happened, this Ghana say, and if it did, right, we will lock up all the Chinese people and their accomplices and deal with them. Most of the Chinese people who have been caught doing this illegal small-scale mining haven't been even brought before a court of law. Yeah? If Ghana was really independent, like I said, all those wicked Chinese people put on our land, put on our soil, would have been put before a court of law and being deported back to China. But because we are dependent on China, yeah, for loans and what have you, right? Ghana is not a really independent country. And finally on this, real independence means minding your own affairs. So Kwame Nkrumah, Ghana's first president, stated that the black man is capable of minding his own affairs. But today, because we are dependent on other bodies, yeah, we are not able to mind our own affairs without other people interfering. Real independence means that you are free to run the affairs of your country in the interests of your country without any further or any sway from any external force. So these are examples of real independence and why Ghana is not really independent, but Ghana is a dependent state. And so our political elite, because I'm not going to say our leaders, our political elite have to understand that Ghana is not an independent country. Forget the national anthem, forget the flag, that Ghana is not an independent country. And the agenda and the goal must be that Ghana is a totally liberated, a totally emancipated, a total real independent country. Yeah. And this is what I want to impart to my Ghanaian listeners and listeners generally, that no African country is independent in the real sense of the word independent, apart from those 4 great African countries: Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, Guinea-Bissau, and to a degree, Senegal. Those 5 countries have shown what it means to be really independent, to take charge of your own affairs, to manage your affairs in the interest of your country, yeah? And not to be swayed, not to be fearful of any external forces that you think could destroy your country. That is what we call real independence. And so, on this so-called Independence Day, I want my Ghanaians in particular, and Ghanaians who are living outside of Ghana, to really think, really analyze the fact that Ghana does not enjoy real independence because of what I've said, and to think and to work about how Ghana can become a really independent, sovereign state that does things in the interest of its people, not in the interest of others who do not really have the interest of Ghana at heart, but are playing geopolitics and geoeconomics with Ghana. And so I thank you for listening to this edition of Ghana in Focus, Independent Special, with myself, Kwame, Ghanaian writer, broadcaster, journalist. If you like what you hear, please share it to your friends, your family, social media networks. Subscribe to Ghana African Focus on YouTube. Hit the notification bell. YouTube will notify you of any new podcasts that I put out. Sign up to Africa Ghanaian Focus on Spotify. Click follow. Spotify will notify you every time I upload a new podcast. And if you'd like to donate to the show, click on the website. Just look out for Ghana African Focus, and then that will put you to the website. And then click on the donate button, or you can click the donate button on the footnotes to the show, both from YouTube or on Spotify, and you can donate as little as $3 a month. All right, so until next week, where we do our budget special, where we try to predict, or really what we tell you what we want to see in next week's budget. Until then, thank you for listening to this week's edition of Ghana in Focus. And for myself, Kwame, from all the production crew here on Ghana in Focus, thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next edition of Ghana in Focus.